It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening, whenever you're watching. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Got a problem with my, man, all kinds of issues these last couple of days. Just was all connected, tangled. Anyway, today's show, I was all tangled up and stuff. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why you're so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. We had some issues yesterday. We were ready to go live as soon as the Triple G and Canelo Alvarez fight was over, but due to some circumstances beyond my control, it's been about 6 hours late. So here we are. The fight took place last night, in case you missed it. Canelo Alvarez scored a majority decision win over Triple G. And the way the judges scored it, two saw it 115-113 for Canelo. The third had it even, 114-114. I totally thought that this fight was going to be another draw. I scored the fight 115-113 for Triple G. I thought that he came on and really on my scorecard took the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th rounds. But prior to that, I had given all the rounds to Canelo, with the exception of the first round, which I thought was so close. The first two rounds were so close. Listen, most of the rounds were close. And, I'm not saying that this was a robbery. I'm not saying that Triple G should have won the fight. It was a good fight. I can't really disagree with the scores, except for Letterman's, which was I think his was right around my score, but he and I were seeing differently about some of the rounds. But it was an exciting fight. Triple G looked old to me. I'm always been a big fan of Triple G, but he looked old to me. He didn't go in attack mode. Credit to Canelo. He stood in there. And, for the most part, Triple G didn't have answers for the counterpunch. The reason why I scored some of the closer rounds for Triple G was because he was throwing multiple punches. He was throwing, a lot of jabs, and he would come back with a right hand, then come back with another left and maybe another right. That was about it in terms of multi-punch. He would go to jab and then boom, boom, maybe two more punches, maybe three. Canelo, for the most part, was throwing one punch at a time. He would counter punch, and he would stop throwing punches. Another thing I noticed about Canelo was that he was throwing, his counter punches were generally the same punch that Triple G had just landed. If you notice with the uppercuts, when he started throwing the uppercuts, it was right after Triple G landed an uppercut, then you could almost bet the house that Canelo was going to come back with an uppercut. It was something that I felt Abel Sanchez missed, and something that Triple G's corner should have said, hey, listen, get ready for him. If you throw an uppercut, he's going to come back with an uppercut. Be ready for that, and then be able to counterpunch him when he's out of position. That's what a corner should do. They should notice things like that, and that was something that I saw repeatedly during the fight. Now, is there going to be a third one? I bet you there is. I bet you that there will be a third fight. I just have a feeling. They were talking about it, and it just seems like that's going to be where it's at. I really think that they would consider. They were doing some interviews, and some of with primarily Gomez from Golden Boy Promotions. This was the day before the weigh-in. They had their last press conference, and what was happening there was they were talking. The two fighters didn't do a face-off except for that charade we all saw with the weigh-in. They were making such a big deal about that, and he didn't do anything. He charged him. Yeah, he came up. He didn't make contact. Except for the foreheads coming together. Aside from that, it was no big deal. I think they were just giving it more than it really was, and some of the other stuff that was going on with the corners, these haphazard punches they were throwing or slaps or whatever. I think it was all choreographed. So I didn't buy much into that. But what I did buy into, and what I did read between the lines, was that Gomez was saying, if this fight's a good fight, unless it ends real quick via a knockout, don't be surprised if we see a third fight. And, financially, it's not a bad move. Both fighters are looking to make the most money, and because the two fights were so entertaining and close, and most people like myself still feel Triple G won the first fight, I think it could be justifiable to have a second fight. And then should Triple G win that fight, would we see a fourth? I don't know. But, the funny thing is that Triple G looked old, and he looked old quick. So I was a little disappointed there. But, hey, Father Time is undefeated. He's got the real undefeated record. So, but I thought it was an entertaining fight. Like I said, we had hoped to go on and broadcast immediately after the show. There was a lot of technical stuff going on. I don't know what it was, if it was my end, if it was our streaming service end, whatever it was. Here we are. Sal Cenicola is going to be joining us here in a few minutes. If you want, right now, if you want your comments on the fight read on the air, drop us a super chat over on our YouTube screen, our chat room over on YouTube. We are live, as well as Facebook, and all of our radio affiliates are actually going to be getting a copy of this show too. So shout out to all of you guys. We're glad you're listening. On the undercard, talk about one thing. What was it? $85, right? You pay $85 for this pay-per-view, right? If you got the high def, at least DirecTV, that's what it was charging. But you get the pay-per-view, and not that a lot of people, buy a fight for the undercard, because most people don't. And I just would have thought one thing. I would have thought that they have a couple of fights. Now, I understand. I don't need anybody to send me an email to explain to me or anything, because I know. But I understand that certain fights make it to a pay-per-view broadcast, and other fights don't. But in the case of what took place last night, all right, we ended up sitting around listening to these guys dance around, hoping that they could, get get going, so to speak, talking about the same stupid stuff, and we got nothing. You know, I can't even talk this morning. Roman Gonzalez was his fight ended quickly by a knockout, and you know, it was against someone that he was supposed to get knocked out real quickly. He went a couple of rounds anyway. Then the next fight we see is Spike O'Sullivan against David Lemieux, and you know, that fight didn't go long. That was 2 minutes and 44 seconds in the first round. David Lemieux knocking out Spike O'Sullivan. Interesting side note on that fight was that Spike O'Sullivan had never been down in his career, let alone get knocked out. And that's exactly what happened with a devastating left hook from David Lemieux, knocking out Spike O'Sullivan in the very first round. David Lemieux, you know, I don't know. I mean, can you say he looked good? Same thing with Gonzalez. I mean, can you say they look good? We didn't really see them that long. I thought Gonzalez looked good. Remember, he was fighting an opponent that wasn't that good. And as far as David Lemieux, Spike O'Sullivan was built up to be a much better fighter than he appeared to be. You know, so you know, the truth of the matter is you know, I just thought that I don't know what to think about David Lemieux, because the punch was great, typical David Lemieux, but he was so big. He had hydrated so big. I like his comment afterwards. Well, I'm not a flyweight or whatever he said. I'm not a lightweight. But you know, now all of a sudden he's in the mix. Nothing's changed with David Lemieux. He's a one-trick pony. He goes for the kill, goes in for the kill, and then that's it. You know, I just think that I just think that the time will still tell on him. You know, we'll see what happens. But you know, I don't know if it was. All I know is he was a guy that. To me, we didn't get a good chance to see anything because the truth of the matter is that the fight didn't go long enough, and it was waved off. But anyway, you know, that was that. Then we saw the title defense of Jaime Munguia. I'm sorry, I destroy this guy's name all the time. You know, this fight, I mean, this kid is good. I mean, there's no question about it. He's good. I think he's getting even better, to be honest with you. And, you know, he came out and you know, I thought that he is looking much better than he was. But in any event, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break, and when I come back, we'll get Dax Kahn on the line to talk about the Triple G Canelo fight, what he thinks, and we'll go from there. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in, I would say, about 2 minutes, maybe. We'll see. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty,
get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be there. So we're talking about the Canelo Triple G fight from last night. And we are experiencing some difficulties with Sal, and I'm trying to get my man Dax here on the line, and he will be joining us here in a sec. And Sal is just, you know, he's always got an issue with technology, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, Dax being the great warrior that he is, decided that, yeah, might as well check the computer, and lo and behold, here we are, we're live, and so is Dax. Joining us right now is my man, Dax Kahn. Good morning, Dax.
Hello.
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. This last minute stuff is kind of on the ropes. It's got us against the ropes, but in any event, I'm glad you could join us, and apologize for last night. But anyway, Triple G, Canelo, like I said in the beginning of the show, I scored the fight 115-113 for Triple G. That was just me. I'm not saying, you know, the rounds were so close. It could have been either way. I was totally happy with the scoring. What was your thoughts on the fight?
It was a close fight, and it was an enjoyable fight, no question. I think a lot of people were thrown off by the fact that Triple G wasn't the come-forward fighter. I do agree with you on the fact that we did see some of Triple G's age. You know, what bothers me in this, honestly, and and I stated this on social media, is the fact that, you know, this guy wasn't going to get a fair shake in anything that was close. We seen it in the first fight, and we knew that was going to happen last night. You know, I was adamant, a lot of people were adamant on the fact that, you know, he was going to need a knockout to win. You know, it's kind of unfair that, you know, the guy, really, he just wasn't going to get a close, you know, he wasn't going to get a fair shake on anything that was close. I don't know how 2 of the 3 judges actually scored that last round for Canelo. Steve Weisfeld and Dave Moretti scored the 12th round for Canelo. Already, Oscar De La Hoya, in the post-fight interview, in the post-fight presser, is discussing that Canelo and Lemieux were going to fight in December. You know, Oscar said, "Oh, David Lemieux was worthy. We're going to fight him and then plot our next decision, our next opponent after that." So, you know, it's just more or less, you know, it's the boxing politics that kind of have me disgusted. You know, it was a good fight. It was an enjoyable fight. Canelo, you know, did a great job. It wasn't a rivalry. It wasn't a travesty. It's just, you know, it's not fair that, you know, a guy can't get, you know, nothing can go in his manner, in his direction, because it's all about the money. And we see that happening here in this, in this country, you know, continuously. And, you know, it's not just me, Bill. I mean, Teddy Atlas had it 117, 112. Rosie Perez on social media, she was adamant, and she didn't know how they gave it to Canelo. Kevin Iole of Yahoo Sports thought it was a draw. Carl Frampton, Sergio Mora, Sean Porter all had Triple G winning. Terrence Crawford had Triple G winning. So it's not just my opinion. You know, a lot of top names felt Triple G won.
Well, you know, we had talked about it extensively, and the truth of the matter was that, you know, okay, you have to take, for a minute, you have to take the actual fight out of the mix. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you have to take the actual fight out of the mix for a second. And you say to yourself, okay, you know, we all knew this. This was not a secret. You know, you knew it. I knew it. Rosie Perez. I mean, everybody knew it. So I have to assume that Abel Sanchez knew it and Triple G knew it. That the scoring was going to be tilted towards Canelo. I mean, any close round was going to go to Canelo. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. So, with that said, why the blame that I put on Triple G is twofold. Number one, I blame that he did not go out there with, and I hate to say it because it's such an amateuristic statement, but he had to go out there, Dax, with reckless abandon. He really did. It was the only way that he was going to be able to catch Canelo and win. He needed to drop him at least in this fight, and he didn't. He was trying to outbox him. The fight was fought in the middle of the ring. This was not Triple G's advantage. He needed to get him against the ropes, and he didn't. You know, I've always said, and I look stupid, I say he's the best ring general. He didn't look that well. He didn't look like he was being too good of a general last night. You know, so I mean, it was just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So the other thing is that I honestly felt that Triple G's corner failed him. I don't know if you caught me say this, but I started noticing it about midway through the fight. Every time Triple G landed a punch, you could almost start to bet that Canelo came back with the same punch, almost like he was saying, oh, you landed that, well, I can land it back on you. It was really obvious with the uppercut, but he was doing it with the hooks too. And I'm really disappointed that Abel Sanchez didn't pick up on that during the fight and tell Triple G, listen, you throw an uppercut, be ready for an uppercut to come back, and then be ready to counter. Did you catch that, or is that my imagination?
No, I did catch that, and, you know, like I stated, it wasn't a travesty. A lot of those rounds were close, but, you know, what bothers me is the fact that none of the close rounds were ever swayed in his direction. And, you know, in terms of where they should have known that, of course they should have known that. You know, looking back at Canelo's history, number one, he got his first world title by fighting a guy in Matthew Hatton, who's a tough fighter, you know, in his day, but he had no business being in there for a world title fight. Matthew Hatton should have only been watching world title fights. Against Floyd Mayweather, you know, arguably, you know, the best fighter of, you know, this era, definitely the pound for pound best of this era, definitely. Probably the richest. I think he is the richest fighter of all time. Purse grossing, and Canelo only lost him by majority decision, and that for years was used as a marketing tool. Where, well, if Floyd Mayweather can only beat him by majority decision, wait until Canelo actually reaches his prime and see how good he is. But, ever since then, there's just been a lot of things, such as what happened last night or what happened in the first fight, where things always go in Canelo's favor, whether or not it's the judges, whether or not it's the, glove thing. That's another thing. A few days before the fight, Canelo's team, they thought they were going to bring their own gloves. That was actually turned down. It was like the audacity of thinking that, you are so much bigger and you are so much, you are the sport that you can wear whatever gloves you want, you can do whatever you want, and Oscar De La Hoya and their team has him convinced he can do whatever he wants because he is Canelo, and it's just a travesty. It's, if it wasn't for so many times and so many incidents, it wouldn't be disgusting, but it really is. It's just bothersome, and it's exactly why we see so many of these fighters going across and signing with these European promoters, because they're saying to themselves, even if I lose, at least I'll get some sort of appreciation. As of right now, the fact that Triple G lost to Canelo, that just leaves so many doors open. He'll never get any credit for anything he ever did before with these new type of fans.
You're right. And, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking that last night. I'm like, oh, God. And they even was saying it on the broadcast. They're saying, oh, now he's fighting. I don't know if you caught that, but they're going, oh, now he's fighting upper level opposition, which is an indicator for me that's, this is exactly what the new fans are going to say. He was exposed. He never fought anybody, blah, blah, blah. But he fought whoever was available, you know what I mean? He fought who was available. Who was Canelo fought? Remember, this is the 155-pound champion. Did you catch during the broadcast last night? And a lot of people were posting on social media, and this is the mindset of people today. Oh, Canelo is finally at the middleweight division. Did anybody forget that, Canelo was the WBC middleweight champion after he beat Miguel Cotto? He actually had that lineal title, but, they totally, tried to ignore that. How many fans had no idea of that, so that's how easy it is to sway the public these days. Yeah, well, it's very easy to sway the public these days. But the fight was entertaining. All in all, the fight was entertaining. Let's jump to the undercard for a second. Jaime Munguia against Brandon Cook. A little side note about Brandon Cook. I got to call one of his fights early in his career that we have recorded somewhere. I'll get it. And, what's happened here with this kid, and Jaime is a good fighter. There's no question about it. I love him, actually. I noticed a couple of things in this one, Dax. Number one, he's getting better. Now, it could have been his opponent. Brandon Cook, no disrespect, but he certainly didn't deserve a shot at a world title. But Jaime seems to be getting better. He seems a little faster. It's something I never thought could be worked on. Realistically, I know people can shorten up their punches and make it look like they're coming at you faster, but Jaime looked like his punches were being delivered quicker. I mean, that was one knock on him in my mind that I saw in his previous fights, that he just seems slow, big, strong, slow, and a good boxer without boxing. But he seemed like he worked on it. He seemed very confident. He seemed like he wanted to end this fight early. He did. Third round knockout, 1 minute and 3 seconds of the third round. And he did what he had to do. Was it the opponent, or do you think we're seeing some improvement in Jaime Munguia?
Well, he's definitely getting better, and I think that the last time out, the fact that he had gone the distance, kind of, as we say about these young fighters who get these quick knockouts, and then all of a sudden when they have to go the distance against somebody, even if it's not a name like Beefy Smith, that they suddenly collapse. Jaime Munguia, that fight actually made him better. I had a lot of people asking me, who is Stephen Butler? And in case they forget, Stephen Butler is the guy that was involved in that riot when he, when they asked me who Brandon Cook was, I'm sorry, he was the guy that was involved in that riot after he knocked out Stephen Butler last year. I mean, but Jaime Munguia is definitely getting better. I'm sitting there watching this kid, and I'm thinking about the Saddam Ali fight, and that Mickey Goldmill voice is going through my head. It's like, the kid, he's a wrecking machine, in that voice, from Rocky 3. Jaime Munguia, the kid, he has a tremendous chin. He has pressure. He's vicious. He wants those knockouts. When he had Cook hurt on the ropes and Cook got off the ropes, he did what we don't see a lot of fighters do. He actually chased after him. He gave him no breathing room. He gave him no time to hold. He gave him no time to let the refs step in and give them some distance. If this kid should happen to incorporate some sort of defense into his skill set, I'll tell you what, I don't care if it's Charlo, I don't care if it's Hearn, I don't care who it is. Jaime Munguia is going to walk through him, and I actually don't think this kid's going to make 154 pounds very much longer. Another fight or two, and I can't see him making 154 pounds. Last night he was a cruiserweight inside the ring.
And we had a couple of cruiserweight, David Lemieux too. But Munguia,
no, he's just not. He's a heavy middleweight.
Munguia is so young, and I agree with you. And I think HBO has latched on to him. They're going down for their third breath here. They're sinking for the third time, and I think they've latched on to him. And it seems like they're going to try and get Roman Gonzalez back in the mix. Your thoughts on that fight? I was messing around trying to get things set up, and I missed a lot of it. I saw the knockout, but I missed the few minutes before. It just, again, it looked very similar to the Munguia fight in terms of the level of the opponent. I mean, all in all, and I said it when I opened the show, Dax, that most people aren't buying a pay-per-view for the undercard, but this undercard was terrible. And the fact that the people that, and I mean terrible in terms of entertainment, and I'm really disappointed that the pay-per-view scheduling didn't have some swing bouts ready. I know they weren't, paid to be on the pay-per-view, so to speak, but you can't let a pay-per-view audience hang around for as much idle time as we did. I mean, we were seeing regular television commercials on a pay-per-view to fill in the time, which I thought was ridiculous. But your thoughts on that and Roman Gonzalez?
Yeah, that was definitely horrible timing, the way they did that. And they were just so repetitive. They were actually... it was like one long infomercial, and it wasn't even the price of a regular pay-per-view. It was $85. As far as Roman Gonzalez, he looked very good last night. It makes you ask, is Rung Visai just that much better than we thought, or is he a guy that seems to have Roman Gonzalez's number? There have been a lot of fighters in history who just seem to have a fighter who is much better than them overall, their number. Ken Norton versus Muhammad Ali, for an example. I don't think Roman Gonzalez is ready for another Rung Visai fight, but he's certainly not done like many thought after those 2 straight losses. I think maybe an opponent like Iran Diaz or Pedro Guerra would be optimal for him before he steps up against Juan Francisco Estrada or even an Aston Palasi. So we know exactly where Roman Gonzalez is. I don't know right now, but I definitely do know that Moses Fuentes, by him saying, I'm going to retire Roman Gonzalez, that might have been the worst thing that he said. That might have really lit a fire under Roman Gonzalez. Roman Gonzalez, again, he's a guy who's young. He has a lot of miles on him for somebody who is so young. But, he has fought so many times because the guys in that division need to fight so often because they don't get paid nearly a fraction of what the bigger name stars do. I'm interested to see what happens with him next. Like I said, a couple more fights against some lower level guys like ones that I mentioned before he steps up to that next level, and then we'll see what happens with him after that, because again, as we said about Jaime Munguia, I don't think Roman Gonzalez is going to really be able to stay at that weight class for much longer.
Yeah, I think you're right about his previous 2 fights. I mean, he met a guy that's got his number, plus the amount of fights that they have and the mileage on these guys. I mean, they're in wars most of the time. So I'm with you there. Who knows? I don't know financially if Gonzalez is set or not. Most likely not. But this would be a good fight if he was deciding to walk away. This would be a good fight to end his career on a positive note. But like you, I doubt that that's going to happen. But I was just disappointed that they didn't have a plan B. You put these guys in, and these knockout punches, they were all knockout punchers too, and you put them in with less than stellar opposition. I mean, did they not think that there was a slight possibility that the fights wouldn't go to distance? I mean, I'm just saying, from a consumer point of view, Dax, you spend $85. I mean, I had the high def version on DirecTV. It was $84.95. All right, you spend that, and you say to yourself, okay, I'm paying for Triple G Canelo rematch, but I kind of want to be able to stay awake. I kind of want to, and that's another thing. I was glad that they had it a little earlier. I was glad that they did do that. I was happy about that, that we weren't watching the main event at 1 a.m. But I'm sitting there and saying to myself, I wanted to hold off. I was trying to get everything set for us here. But I was trying to hold off, and I did successfully. And I grab a scotch right when the Triple G fight started. But I'll tell you, it was hard to hold off. I was saying to myself, God, how am I going to stay awake here? I gotta get, But a lot of dead air, didn't you think? I mean, from a consumer point of view, that wasn't cool.
If anything, what they should have done is actually had some boxing discussion, in terms of the main event. Maybe what they should have done was speak about, or after the David Lemieux and Spike O'Sullivan fight, maybe they should have spoken. That would have been optimal time to bring up Billy Joe Saunders and a possible fact that he was going to fight the winner in a unification bout. They could have mentioned Demetrius Andrade. They could have mentioned Danny Jacobs. They could have mentioned Ryota Murata. The other top middleweights, where they're going to fit in the future, exactly how those fights would take place if they fought either one of the winners, even if they fought against one another. But again, because those guys are with another promoter, they don't want to mention them because that would, gosh forbid, take away any of the limelight from a Canelo. So that's it's very disappointing that they don't talk about the rest of the sport as a whole anymore. But the rest of the world, Bill, I'm saying this, and a lot of people on social media think I'm crazy when I say the rest of the world is revolving in boxing, and the rest of the world is actually laughing at the United States when it comes to this sport, because boxing is big business everywhere. Of course, it's big business here, but it's even bigger business everywhere else. Even Bob Arum is laughing at what the way some of these guys are going for these last ditch efforts. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao talking about fighting again. Bob Arum said, "I don't have time for this." What, and just threw his hands out there like that. So it's just everything just becoming recycled in this country. Nobody wants to talk about what's going on in the overall picture. They don't want to admit that boxing is a global sport. They just seem to think that boxing is a U.S. sport. Only a certain amount of divisions are really watched. Maybe lightweight, super welterweight. Junior welterweight, super welterweight, welterweight, middleweight. And that's it, and the only time the heavyweight division is ever mentioned is when Deontay Wilder fights the cruiserweight division after the Super 6 tournament. The World Boxing Super Series, all of a sudden, because there wasn't any big American stars there, everybody wants to act like that division doesn't even exist. So boxing is just not going in the direction, for the positive. HBO was on its last legs. Boxing in this country is it's nowhere what it was a year ago, let alone what it was 10 years ago. And next year is going to be even worse.
I'm with you. And that's a great segue. We are, as the show progresses now, Dax has come up with a great plan for us, and we are going to be focusing a lot more. Even though I gotta just say this, we have been one of the only, consistently. This show has been around over 15 years now, and we're one of the only American-based shows that have talked a lot about the European happenings in the sport, but we're going to focus a lot more, and rightfully so. They deserve it. They're the ones carrying the sport. I've been saying that for over a decade, that England carries the sport of boxing on their back. And the problem that you mentioned, Dax, and we're going to have to let you go here in a sec, but the problem that you mentioned, I can sum it up in one word. with the promoters from overseas versus the U.S. promoters, I could sum up the problem with the U.S. promoters in one word, and that word is laziness. The U.S. promoters are lazy. That's why they recycle fighters that have a name. That's why a Floyd Mayweather can make an announcement and say, I am fighting Manny Pacquiao again, and the fight's going to take place in December, and he's going to be able to call all the shots. Why? Because, number one, we all know that Pacquiao is not with Top Rank anymore, technically. And without Top Rank, last time they were together, Top Rank just handled the distribution of the broadcast. He's not going to need to do that this time. So, that's why. It's laziness. It's the fan base, the type of fan that buys into the BS. And they're going to do okay with that. And we're going to keep moving along. Eddie Hearn will save the sport if he becomes as popular in the United States as you and I believe he will. And over the next few months, we will be talking a lot about that. Because if Eddie Hearn, could you imagine, Dax? Let me get your comment before we let you go. Could you imagine if Eddie Hearn woke up this morning and said, you know what, I'm sick of boxing. I'm done. I retired. What would happen with the sport? If today, right now, today's day, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing walks away from the sport, what happens?
A lot of big name fighters, over in the UK, boxing would still continue on because they love their fighters. It doesn't matter if you got 100 losses, as long as you're a fighter and you go out there and do a fighter's job, they love you. But in terms of a lot of the big name guys that are going over there, they kind of be left out in the cold back over here. The reason why they went over there with Eddie Hearn, what these fighters, in my opinion, Bill, the guys that are going over and signing with Eddie Hearn or looking over to any other promoters outside the ones that are here in the United States, they have caught on. You mentioned how the promoters, you say it all the time, promoters don't promote. If a lot of these fighters looked and paid attention, they're promoting themselves. Without social media, a lot of these guys would not be known. All these guys are out there promoting themselves on their Twitter accounts, on their Facebook accounts, on their Instagram pages, and top names, because you don't get the press releases from these American promoters like you used to. But every day I get at least 20 press releases, whether or not it's from a Sauerland, whether or not it's from Frank Warren, whether or not it's from an Eddie Hearn, whether or not it's from a Japanese promoter, whether or not it's from Kamosa AG. You don't get that from the promoters here. And so that's the reality of what's happening here. And a guy like Eddie Hearn is changing all that, and we're going to see that when he brings his October cards here to the U.S.
Dax, I appreciate you coming on as quickly as you did, especially what I was going through. I was up, whatever, but we did it, and we'll look forward.
Last night I'm sitting there like, well, where's Bill? It's 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know. Well, I was still working.
Oh, probably fell asleep. I'm like, yeah, it figures.
No, I was working on. I was working on it. We were having, every possible thing. And I don't even know if it was all on our end or not, but we got it resolved.
I seen it was all set up earlier on our YouTube page that for the post-fight show, and then after the fights, all of a sudden everything disappeared. I'm like, what's going on here?
It's exactly what happened. It was set up hours before. And, I was all ready. Like I said, I even withheld having a scotch for 4 boring fights, but in any event, looking forward to next week. We are going to be starting a little earlier than we had been, but we got a lot of stuff on tap, and looking forward to that, my man. So thanks for saving the day.
All right, everybody, talk to you soon. Have a good day.
That's Dax Kahn. You can check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. Very solid there. Well, listen, we're going to try and get my man Sal Cenicola back on the line here. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, hopefully, we will have Rocky Cenicola join us, get his thoughts on that, and something that we just touched on, the announcement of Mayweather-Pacquiao 2, something I've said was definitely going to happen. Everyone said no. But here it is. It was happening a little further along the line than I thought, but we'll talk about that. Give us 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love.
to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And we're talking about the Triple G Canelo fight, even though we were supposed to do this last night. And I would bring my man Sal Cenicola on, but, you know, he doesn't have his camera turned on. This guy is technically impaired. That's all I'm going to say. But Triple G Canelo, it was a great fight, in my opinion. You can't deny that one little bit. What you can do is you can blame Triple G for not putting his foot on the gas pedal. Are you there, Sal, or what? But your video isn't. So get your video going. And you know, the thing is this. The bottom line is this: Triple G and Canelo. We can't blame them for not, giving us their all, because they both did. And there was even a point in the fight where it didn't look it from my point of view, but it must have been taking place in the corner of Canelo, where they were telling him, "You're in good shape. You're younger. You're stronger." There must have been some doubt. He did not show it. I did not see Canelo, with the exception of that one round that towards the end, I think it was either the 10th or the 11th, where Triple G really poured it on and stunned Canelo for a second, and there's where the youth always comes into play, but stunned him for a second. That was the only time that I saw Canelo take his foot off the gas. But we'll see. Sal, are you there? At least audio. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I hear you fine, Sal. But if you got to get your video turned on.
And Bill, I keep hitting the camera.
All right. But we don't need to do that. Well, we won't have your video. That's all. So the bottom line is, what was your thoughts on the fight?
Bill, as you commented, it was a very good fight. It definitely exceeded what I expected the first time. It definitely was better than the first fight. This was a real fight, and again, I think Triple G showed too much respect early. But hey, it was a tactical fight early. I thought Triple G. Bill, I had the fight 118 to 111 in favor of Triple G. And when I heard Larry Hazard after three. Not Larry Hazard. Harold Letterman. After 3 rounds, he had 2 rounds to 1 in favor of Canelo Alvarez. And I said to myself then, well, I may have seen 1 or 2 rounds differently because I had a 2 rounds to 1 Triple G. But I said to myself, at least Harold will be a good judge because he does call a great fight. I love the way he looks at rounds. So going through the fight, every 3 rounds, I was very excited to see that Harold Letterman also had Triple G comfortably ahead. And at the end of the night, like I said, I added up my scorecard, and I had 118 to 111 in favor of Triple G.
Well, let me ask you this. You have your scorecard in front of you?
Right in front of me.
All right. Let's go round by round, and let's see how you scored it. First round. And the first round, I had this. Every round was close, in my opinion, except for a couple.
Every round, Bill. Every round.
But the first round and the second round were extremely close. In my opinion, they could have gone either way. I scored round 1 for Triple G. Who did you score it for?
I scored round 1 for Triple G.
Okay. Round 2, I scored for Canelo.
Round 2, I scored for Canelo.
All right. Round 3. Actually, from round 3, 4, 5, and 6, I scored all of them for Canelo.
Actually, round 3, I scored a 10-9 for Triple G. Round 4, I gave them a 10-10. Round 5, I gave Triple G 10-9. Round 6, I gave Canelo 10-9. I had at the end of 6, 58 to 57. In favor of Triple G.
All right. After 6, I had 55 for Triple G, 59 for Canelo. But then, I gave the rest of the fight, round 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 for Triple G. I gave all those rounds. Now they were close. And at the end of the night, my scorecard came up to be 115, 113 in favor of Triple G. And, I don't have a problem with the score. I don't have a problem with 115, 113 for Canelo. I don't. And I certainly wouldn't have had a problem with a draw either. The truth of the matter is it was a close fight. You could have scored it either way. Once again, Triple G led on the punches, not only the quantity of punches, but the punches landed. But Sal, you and I talked about this not only on the air, but extensively off the air. We both said that Triple G had to fight this fight with reckless abandon, that he had to go in there wanting to take Canelo's head off. And Sal, he didn't do it. He fought Canelo's fight. He fought in the middle of the ring. He did not show any signs of being the ring general that I've bragged that he was. I was disappointed in the game plan.
I agree with you, and I'll tell you what. When you say reckless abandonment, yes, he should have done that from round 1. I told you last week when we were talking, I said this fight should have the makeup of another great middleweight championship fight 30 years earlier. It should have been with the intensity, emotion, laid all on the line. Let's see who can win. such as the Marvin Hagler-Thomas Hearns fight. And, you know, I understand 1, 2, and 3, they went out tactically, and they were looking to position and see. I agree with you. Triple G should have taken the fight to Canelo, and instead he became the counterpuncher, moving backwards, this, that, and everything else. You could argue the point, well, hey, guess what? He didn't have to track down and run after Canelo. He had Canelo right in front of him. But still, he didn't do what he needed to do to be as dominant as he could. In those later rounds, when he put some combinations together, and yes, I believe he did hurt Canelo. I thought he took the pedal off the metal there, because I thought he could have followed up the next round with the reckless abandonment and then just hurt Canelo and put him away. But he didn't. And even though I gave him rounds 7 through 12, I gave to Triple G. He won those rounds. Like I said, I still saw a fight that had Triple G winning. But as you and I mentioned, and as you were so clearly right, Triple G had to make a big statement, had to knock Canelo Alvarez out to win this fight. And I agreed with you then, and obviously I'm going to agree with you this morning.
I was talking to Sal on the phone. I was driving somewhere, and I said to Sal, I don't know where I heard it, but someone told me that they felt that, my man Mitch, I got to give Mitch the credit. He said it. He said, yeah, Triple G's got to knock out Canelo in order to get another draw. And I said that to Sal, and I was like, you know, it's right. When the fight was as close as it was, I knew the nod was going to go to Canelo, especially when they read the draw first, 114.
Yes.
You know, and then you knew that the fight was gonna go. Here's where I think the fight was lost. Now, I honestly believe, and Sal, feel free to keep working on your video while we talk.
I am looking on every minute.
Well, yeah, obviously what you have is in your, and I hate to talk about this on air, so I apologize to everyone that's listening to me give Sal technical support. But what you have right now is you have your photo set as your camera, and you need to put your camera instead of that. So you work on that. But in any event, this is what I think, Sal. I think that what happened, if you look at the two fighters, both fighters tried to do what they wanted. Canelo was more successful. He actually did what he said he was going to do. Triple G did not fight with reckless abandon, which is probably a smart thing. And when I say reckless abandon, what I mean by that is he should have been throwing a lot more punches. He should have been on the attack. But in Canelo's defense, he was landing some short, sharp punches that were making Triple G think twice. So, I mean, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, when you look at the two corners, Abel Sanchez lost. Abel Sanchez was out-cornered. He was out-coached 100%. And the biggest thing I noticed, and I said it in the beginning of the show, and I said it to Dax, and Dax agreed, noticed the same thing. I don't know if you saw it, but I'm going to say it again for people that are just tuning in. What I noticed was that Canelo, now whether it was being as a macho move or what, every time Triple G landed a punch, now I'm talking about landing a punch, landing a solid punch, Canelo would come back with the same punch, almost to say, oh, you got me, here, I'm getting you. And when I first started noticing it on a consistent basis was with the uppercut. I mean, if I had anybody to bet last night, I would have started betting every time Triple G threw the uppercut that Canelo would come back with one of his own. And I feel that Abel Sanchez should have noticed that from the corner and should have said to Triple G, hey, listen, every time you land a punch, Canelo's coming back with that same punch, specifically with the uppercut. So next time you land one, be ready for one, and then be ready to counter it. And he never did. It was like tit for tat, and you know, that's what I think lost the fight for Triple G. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that, and it was happening too obviously that I really... I agree. You know, I saw that Abel Sanchez was definitely telling Triple G some of the right stuff, but with their relationship being as close as they have had, and that they've worked together, you know, I just thought that Triple G could have been a little more responsive, and I thought that he was assessing and doing what he had to do each round to figure out Canelo. But that's just it. He shouldn't have had to have figured out Canelo. He should have just fought his fight and not Canelo's fight. And that was the whole thing. Bottom line, and in a nutshell, he fought Canelo's fight the majority of that fight instead of fighting Triple G's fight. Maybe he felt comfortable. Maybe he felt he was going to catch Canelo, and I thought he was going to do so too. Not to take away from Canelo. He fought a great fight, and I just thought that Triple G did do what he had to do to win, but not enough. And obviously, like Mitch was kind enough to point out, he could have knocked out Canelo Alvarez to get a draw.
Well, you know, Canelo, you know, he was the favorite in terms of judges and everything else. Triple G's team had to know that if the fight was going to be close, that he was not going to get the decision. You know, for him to walk away the way he did, not give a comment, you know, like he was robbed. There was no way of robbery. Yes, I scored the fight for Triple G, but it wasn't a robbery. Those rounds were so close. It was a failed game plan. I also thought that Triple G seemed winded. He was huffing and puffing, breathing out of it. Now, maybe, who knows, maybe his nose got, you know, broken or you know, compromised, and he had to breathe through his mouth. But he was breathing through his mouth halfway through the fight on. You know, so Father Time he played a part in this fight. There's no question about it. And, you know, you could see why Triple G ended up, you know, folding and taking the fight for the final offer deal, blah, blah, blah. It was the biggest money fight for Triple G. I don't see any reason for Triple G to come back unless they had a third fight. There's no
which they talked about.
No, I know. They're talking about a third fight. Canelo said he would bring it on. He would definitely take it. He was going to go hang out with his family for a while, blah, 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 the usual stuff that we hear. As Dax reported earlier, Oscar De La Hoya already said David Lemieux is going to get a shot at him. Of course, David Lemieux is an easy win. Yes, he's got punching power, but he'll never be able to get to Canelo and land those punches.
I don't know about that, Bill. I don't know about that. Styles make fights, and David Lemieux may have, you know, the rangy, lengthy arms and power to get Canelo Alvarez's attention. That would be a good fight. I'd be definitely interested to see that fight.
What David Lemieux are you looking at? I'm looking at more of a shorter, stockier, compact David Lemieux, like he's physically, you know, set up. Yes, he's got punching power, but he leaves himself wide open. He throws those looping punches, and Canelo, whether you like him or not, is a technically sound fighter. I mean, this guy delivers punches. Hey, listen, the Canelo Alvarez I saw last night beat Triple G, you know, in a close fight, was a very talented fighter.
I agree with you.
You know,
he was sound. He was technically sound. He was solid. He was solid.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, you know, we could.
He was improved. He improved over the last year's fight. He improved quite a bit.
You see, I don't know about that. I think that he's always been technically sound. I mean, listen, what he did differently last night was he stood and fought. If you notice towards the end of the fight, you know, when Triple G started moving away and trying to box, Canelo was looking at him and like with this look, like, what are you doing? I thought you wanted to fight Mexican style. It was a complete reversal, in my opinion, of personalities as that fight wore on. Triple G was starting to come on, and I thought he clearly was winning the later rounds, but it still was Canelo that was willing to exchange more than Triple G. Triple G did not fight the fight that he should have fought. And whether it's because of his age or whether Abel Sanchez was trying to tell him, You know, you got to go in there. You got to fight. You got to blah, blah, blah. And Canelo wasn't responding. And Sal, no one knows more than you. There's only one reason a fighter doesn't respond to his coach, and that's because, well, two reasons. That's because either A, he just can't do it. He's out. Or B, he's getting tagged enough where it's hurting him more than his trainer is letting on to. And I think that was the case. I think Canelo was tagging and hurting Triple G more than people realized. Did he go down? Did he get staggered? No. But Triple G's got a solid chin. And I'm telling you, credit what credit's due. Canelo was landing some solid punches. And even though Triple G was landing them, it just seemed that they weren't landing as snappy as Canelo. I'm sorry.
I do agree on that level. Two things I want to discuss. Number one, I saw at the end of the fight, and tell me if you agree or not. I saw Canelo Alvarez had the look on his face immediately after the fight as a defeated fighter. He didn't look like he thought he won. He was kind of head down, a little solemn, and like, what did I just finish? I had the feeling when they had the camera on Canelo Alvarez that Canelo Alvarez did not believe he won that fight. What's your thought?
I don't know. I think
doesn't matter. Obviously,
no, it doesn't matter. I don't think that, because I think that deep down he knew damn well that if this fight was going to be close, if Triple G won easily, it would have been a draw. Canelo knew damn well that if this fight was close, that he was going to get the nod. They already knew that. You know, I mean,
Bill, go ahead.
I think that if there was any kind of solemnness from Canelo after the fight, I think it was the fact that he lost the last round on everybody's scorecards except the judges, which was pretty weird. But because his corner told him he needed to have a strong round, and he didn't. I thought that Triple G had the stronger round. I'm talking about the last round. So I think, if anything, what you might have seen was that. But I don't think that he was thought that he lost. He certainly was definitely happy when the official announcement came. That
he was happy, but he as they were taking his gloves off before the judges came up with the scores, he didn't act like a fighter that won a fight. He looked very much in reflective at the time, like going over in his mind, and he wasn't as jubilant, like, hey, I won this fight and everything else. He seemed very quiet and reserved. And not that it was a bad thing either. Maybe he was practicing a little humility. Who knows? Tell you what I was getting tired of hearing from Max Kellerman, and I don't want to rip anybody apart, I had two thoughts during the broadcast. To really assess and to finally understand Larry Merchant, who used to have a canned speech no matter what happened in the end of the fight. And towards the later rounds of the fight, I kept thinking, what are they going to say? What would Larry Merchant be saying? He'd be putting together for each fighter, whoever would win this fight, a nice little speech here. And I couldn't help but think about what Larry Merchant would have been saying. One thing. Another thing is, what did they come out with this new term that Max Kellerman kept coming out with? The story of the fight. He's winning the story of the fight. I mean, did you get that?
Listen, what I got was that HBO is hanging on to it. Somebody threw them a lifesaver as they're drowning, and it was the wrong kind. It was a cherry-flavored one. And they're sinking. They're sinking. And, they're just trying to build a... They said, throw me a lifesaver. And the guy's going, what flavor? No, not that kind of lifesaver. I mean a lifesaver. We're sinking here. But the truth of the matter is that HBO is losing the battle, and they're trying to, hey, listen, let's be real. The first fight was controversial. It wasn't a they they made that fight sound like it was Hagler Hearns. I mean, they're going, it was a great fight. Oh, we're picking up with 13. Oh, terrific fights. I say, no, let's go for another one, blah, blah, blah. I mean, come on. Listen, it was an entertaining fight. But you see, that's the problem with the sport today. The young people today, and trust me when I tell you, they don't know the sport. They don't know boxing. Okay, no. And for some people to sit there and watch this fight last night and say it was a great fight, yes, it was entertaining. Great, absolutely not. Go punch up any of the big fights from 30 years ago and beyond, and you'll see some knockout, drag-out fights. Now, the argument, because they've been brainwashed as well, the sweet science, blah, blah, blah. Give me a break. What? The sweet science means you can run? Was Triple G executing the sweet science last night because he was moving around the ring? Nah, he just didn't want to get tagged because Canelo was tagging him. The truth of the matter is the fight was entertaining. It was not worth what they charged. It wasn't even, that was an HBO, that fight, the way it unfolded, not with the participants, but the way it unfolded, should have just been a regular old HBO, not an $85 pay-per-view. I'm sorry. It just wasn't. And with all the other knockout, quick knockouts, it was quite the ripoff. I could see them helping people subscribe to these streaming subscriptions because you're getting more for your money than what we got last night. That's for sure. But it was a good fight. If we never see Triple G again, he still has nothing to be ashamed of with his career. If we see a rematch, he's just going to be an older fighter. I think he would clearly be doing it just for the money. It's Canelo's time now. How does Canelo fare against the Daniel Jacobs of the division, or even the Charlos? We'll see. I think Danny Jacobs gives Canelo all kinds of trouble. The only thing I would worry about with Daniel Jacobs is I still think, even though he hung in there with Triple G, I still think he has a suspect chin. And as Canelo demonstrated last night, he's got a solid chin. The question is, can Daniel Jacobs hurt him? I would like to see Danny Jacobs fight Canelo. I would also like to see Billy Joe Saunders fight Canelo. We'll see what Canelo does. I have a feeling Canelo's going to play games. They're ripping the Floyd blueprint right out of Floyd's hands. And that's what I hate about the American promoters. And, this is why we're shifting gears, and we're going to cover a lot of, overseas stuff from here on out. But the truth of the matter is it was a good fight. Speaking of Mayweather, let's talk a little about that. Now, I said this, you know what? In your place when we broadcast it, I said to you that there's going to be another fight. You said, that's when you gave me your, well, if they fight 100 times, Mayweather's going to win 100 times. There's no reason for another fight. I said, you watch. They're going to have another fight. Pacquiao lost, put that fight on hold. But in lieu of Mayweather's spending habits and in lieu of the fact that he owes tax money now for the McGregor fight, we knew damn well that this guy was going to fight again. And he's going to fight again after this, guaranteed. I mean, that Mayweather is just he's got just the biggest ego. Him and Teddy Atlas, between the two of them, they can't even be in the same room because of the egos that come with them. But the truth of the matter is that Mayweather will never be a successful promoter until he lets his ego go. And proof in the pudding, he's announced that him and Pacquiao will have a rematch, and it will be taking place in December. Does not surprise me. I think it's a good fight for both of them at the stage that they are at right now. The outcome, I don't listen. Floyd has slowed down. He hasn't fought a top young guy in quite a while. The last younger guy he fought was Andre Berto, who has no skill set. That was quite a few years ago. Don't be surprised if Pacquiao wins the rematch. I'm telling you right now. What's your thoughts?
No, I still stand by my original declaration a couple of years ago when I said if they fight 100 times, Floyd Mayweather wins 90. And I really do believe that.
But here's the thing. And I'm not going to disagree with you if we were talking about Floyd Mayweather from even 3 years ago. Or even the same version of Floyd Mayweather that fought Manny Pacquiao the first time, or the Floyd Mayweather as he started to age, even the Floyd Mayweather who fought Andre Berto. I agree with you, but Floyd Mayweather has been very successful at preserving himself. But at the end of the day, yes, I know he spends money and stuff, but he doesn't drink, he doesn't do drugs, he lives clean, he's always in shape. He doesn't have the distractions aside from, strip clubs and spending money and stuff like that Manny Pacquiao has. But at the end of the day, every fighter ages. And Manny Pacquiao will have more to get up for this fight mentally. He's got I got to prove to everyone that it was my shoulder thing. He's got the support of the Philippines and all the other people that want to see Floyd lose. So we're going to see the best possible version of Manny Pacquiao. They're banking on selling this fight because of Manny Pacquiao's knockout performance of his last fight. Even though we have to keep in mind who he fought, et cetera, et cetera. But I have a feeling that if Manny Pacquiao goes into this fight the way Triple G should have gone into the fight with Canelo, that he's got a chance. If he goes into the fight like Triple G fought Canelo, then you are 100% right. We are going to see another anticlimactic fight, and we are going to see Floyd Mayweather run and dance and win a 12-round decision over Manny Pacquiao. That's what I think. But if Manny Pacquiao goes in and says, hey, kill or be killed, I don't care. I'm going to go out on my shield. If I lose, I'm going to force him to knock me out. I'm going to force him to fight. I think he's got a better than good chance to upset Floyd. That's just my opinion. But, Floyd has obviously got the better skills. He's preserved more, has never been knocked out, has less on his plate, can focus more on the fight. He's got all those things going for him. Plus, he's going to be calling all the shots, and this time Manny Pacquiao is not going to have a leg to stand on.
Well, you made some good points across the board there, and I could understand and follow each and every one you did. You mentioned, and I do agree. I just think, like I said, I'll stick to my boilerplate answer. I just think that I'm not saying out of 100 fights that Manny won't win one, but I think he'll only win 10. So whether this is going to be that 1/10 of an opportunity, if they were to fight 100 times, that will be who's showing up for the fight that night. And we know what we can expect from Mayweather. We would hope that we see what we would expect from Manny Pacquiao. I just don't think that he. Don't forget, I admit the best Manny Pacquiao was the Manny Pacquiao that fought under 135 pounds. In my opinion.
Well, the best Floyd Mayweather was the Floyd Mayweather who fought at 140 pounds. So, listen.
True.
When you look at these two guys, here's the difference with Canelo and Triple G. Canelo's a young gun. Canelo is he's gotten better. He did. I enjoyed watching Canelo last night.
Me too. Me too.
A lot of my opinion, and I've always liked Canelo, but a lot of my opinions kind of went south with his whole arrogant approach to the steroid. He's busted for the steroid use. He should have manned up and just said, "Hey," even if it came from the beef, I would have just said, "Hey, it's my responsibility what goes in my body." End of story. Instead, he blames Triple G and all this stuff. At the end of the day, what we saw last night was a really good, entertaining, close fight. I had it the other way, but the truth of the matter is I'm not any stretch of the imagination calling it a robbery. But what we clearly saw was youth versus age. Canelo is moving forward. He's probably at the peak of his career right now, and Triple G is not. He's at the end of his career. Now, when we talk about Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, if Floyd Mayweather fought a young, up-and-coming guy like Errol Spence or even a Sean Porter, I would love to see Sean Porter fight Mayweather. Any of these young fighters, these young welterweights, Floyd would get destroyed. let's be real. I don't care how much Floyd's little fanboy base loves him and thinks he's great. He would not beat these young guns. Okay,
no, and Canelo Alvarez would have knocked him out if that Canelo Alvarez was in the ring with him, but that was years ago.
Well, wait a minute. Floyd was smart to fight Canelo when he did. He knew that the kid was learning and everything. This is a different Canelo than
100%.
Floyd. But he would never fight anything outside of his comfort zone. But Floyd Mayweather knows that he's aging and he slowed down a step. Okay, we gotta assume that he does this. I know he talks so much that most people hate him, how great he is. He's blah blah blah. But he's picking the right opponent. He's picking Manny Pacquiao, who's in a similar situation. Sal, this is another guy that's seen better days. The difference between Floyd and Manny is simply this: Manny's been stopped. Floyd hasn't. What that means, maybe not on paper and maybe not in a large scope of things, but your body, okay, that slows you down a bit and it makes you a little more vulnerable. That's the edge that Floyd has. Plus the styles. Floyd's style of running, and trust me, it's running. Don't tell me it's the sweet science, anybody out there. It's running, but it's effective. He lands a shot or two, gets out of harm's way, lands a shot or two, gets out of harm's way. Billy C's drinking scotch after scotch, and then that's why I'm hammered by the time his fights are over. But the truth of the matter is that Floyd and Manny, to make the amount of money that they're going to make, they're not going to make what they made in the first fight, but to make what they will make in this fight is the most sensible and financially sound fight that both of these guys could have, and it would still sell at 40 and 41 years old when they fight. So I mean, the truth of the matter is, it is what it is. This is going to be an evenly matched fight, Sal, because they're evenly matched in terms of their careers, where they are, their age, mileage, etc., etc. So when we look at this fight, it could be just as it could be entertaining. It most likely won't because of Floyd, but it is the smartest fight for both these guys. And and should Manny win, guess what? They'll have a third one because at that point the unbeaten record that Floyd has bamboozled the fan base into thinking was so important won't mean anything anymore, and all it will mean is another huge payday. And should Manny Pacquiao beat Floyd, that's the fight you're going to see again, and then people are going to compare that trilogy to the Sugar Ray Tommy Hearns trilogy, even though it doesn't match up in terms of entertainment. That's what today's young fan is going to match it. And listen, people are probably shaking their heads at me, telling me I'm off base, but think about it. You got to be old enough to have watched the Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard trilogy and know, and most people even forgot that there was a third fight and ended in a draw. So I mean, yes, people still bought it because they were two parallel fighters, just like Manny and Floyd were. The first fight should have came, 3 or 4 years sooner, and now we're going to get three, boom, 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 two more in a row. But it should Manny win. If Floyd wins again, it's over. But it will be the end of both their careers. But I see Manny possibly winning this fight if he's in the best shape that he can be, and if he can. Train without distractions. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to see. And you know what we'll hear from HBO? At least we'll get the story of the fight.
Well, I don't understand why they're trying to, like I said, they're hanging.
They're trying to create more fluff than the stuff. That's all they had to state to was the factual stuff. But the story of the fight, hey, that's a whole nother venue, a whole nother approach. A whole nother angle to look at it. I don't want to go belabor it. It is what it is. It just caught me a couple of things. The story of the fight, how they kept saying, well, he's winning the story of the fight. It doesn't matter if you're winning the story of the fight. What the hell is the story of the fight? It's a matter if you're winning on the scorecards, as we obviously know.
I am wrong. I'm being corrected by some people. They only fought twice. Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns, they only fought twice. The fight that I'm confused it with was the Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran fought 3 times. That was the fight that I was confusing with Tommy Hearns. Tommy Hearns and Sugar then had only fought twice. I'm going the trilogy. But anyway, that's what happens when you get old. See what I'm talking about? You know, the truth of the matter is that Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao are going to fight at least twice, maybe 3 times. I don't know. But like you said, the outcome will probably be the same.
Well, we'll see. And you know what's so I guess enlightening and disheartening all in the same. There's many fights, as you mentioned, ahead for Canelo Alvarez against any one of the fighters you mentioned, and more. And there's going to be a lot gunning after him. But you know what? There's only one fight for Triple G, and that is a rematch with Canelo Alvarez. And in my mind, in my opinion, that's about the only fight that he would have left, and that he would have to prove. And you know, could we see a fourth? Hey, well, guess what? If Triple G was to do what he should have done last night and dominantly beat or knock out Canelo Alvarez in the next, there will be a fourth. But if they do get to have a dance for the third time, it may just be a repeat of last night. So
you know what? I was waiting for you to finish, and I agree with what you just said. If they fight a third time, it'll be a repeat of last night, or even worse for Triple G. Triple G has aged. He aged before our eyes in the first Canelo fight. And, you know, people didn't want to hear it. Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya knew that waiting a year was not going to be beneficial to Triple G. Triple G knew it. That's why he needed that fight, earlier this year, and really didn't get anything out of it. And it's over. He's 36, and you know, yes, he had less fights than Canelo. You know, he's right now. Triple G is got 39 fights. It's his 40th fight. But the truth of the matter is, he had over 300 amateur fights, whereas Canelo didn't. So I mean, the truth of the matter is the guy's got a lot of mileage on him. And when you're waiting in between the last couple of years, since he started this competition, so to speak, against Canelo, it's ruined his career because it threw him off of what he was used to. He was used to fighting a couple of times, 2 or 3 times a year, and that got thrown off. And at the same time, he's aging, and at the same time, he's changing how he fights. He's not the same fighter. And I agree that the only fight for Triple G right now is a rematch with Canelo, but don't expect the outcome to be any different. If I'm Triple G, maybe I just get another Vanis Martirosyan type fight to win and then retire with a W. It's always good to have a fighter retire on a winning note. Chocolito Gonzalez is one that might consider retiring after his big win the other night, but last night. But in any event, we'll see what happens. But anyway, Sal, I appreciate last minute coming on. We did have some technical issues last night. I enjoyed the fight overall. I did score it for Triple G, 115-113, but the fight was extremely close. So I'm not going to call it a robbery or anything. I'm looking forward to the improvements, or let me just say the rise for Jaime Munguia. This kid looks like the real deal. I'm so looking forward to him fighting some of the other young guns in the division, or possibly moving up. He is a little slow, but he looked good against Brandon Cook. So David Lemieux getting another life, so to speak, knocking out Spike O'Sullivan at 2 minutes and 44 seconds of the first round. Spike O'Sullivan never hit the canvas prior to last night, so David Lemieux already being talked about as a possible next opponent for Canelo. So a lot of things took place last night. Our new show time will be the time we started this morning next week. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And I promise we're going to have Sal's video fixed, because Sal, the non-technical guy that he is going to have it resolved. So in any event, don't forget to visit our website for all the latest boxing news, www.billycboxing.com. And I leave you with this. Make sure you tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.